Greetings, Saberites. Nonymous here. Something that comes up a lot in the discussions of sabering and taking kind of real-world martial arts and putting those into what we do is the issue of barehanded, empty-handed, or non-weapon-based martial arts and how they're applicable to sabering. Now, there are people who have various opinions on this. That depends on how much they believe a barehanded style or experience is going to translate over into sabering, which is essentially a weapons combat thing. And we come out usually on the end of saying barehanded fighting is going to give you certain things, but it's pretty distinct and separate from weapon-based fighting. And that's with any weapon, whether it be stick, sword and buckler, all of that kind of thing. These things are very, very distinct from each other. Now, what does barehanded fighting impart to a weapon-based martial art? And there's a couple of things that it is good. One thing is, and these are pretty universal for any type of martial art that you practice, whether it be weapon-based or non-weapon-based. You're going to get a certain level of fitness, which is probably going to be above that you would get in another activity, especially if you're in some sort of martial art that is either sparring or doing partner work a lot of the time. Next, you got the coordination that martial arts takes is built up in the body. What most people call muscle memory, which is actually called neuromuscular patterning. We get specific movements and good body mechanics kind of drilled into our systems that way. And then finally, resistance against an opponent who is trying to make you do something that you don't want to do and is resisting your attempts to do the same to them. That experience alone is very valuable, whether you're going from weapon-based to, whether you're doing it weapon-based or whether you're doing it barehanded. Okay, now, as far as I can see, and from my opinion, this is where the similarities kind of end. There are certain things, which we'll get to in a minute, that do translate specific weapons to specific barehanded techniques and that. But these are the ways that they're distinct. Number one, when you're using a weapon, you're not just moving your body, right? When you're moving your body, you have a kinesthetic sense of where your body is. You have proprioception. You can feel all of these things are information that your brain is taking in and helping you adapt in a particular fight. When you have a weapon, just like a lightsaber, you do not have that same sense out here. You have to develop this sense of where the blade is and how good your grip is on the weapon and if your strikes are going to actually be doing anything. You have to develop those senses and those skills through training. And that is the whole purpose of training. We want to extend our awareness into the weapon, as we often say in Chinese martial arts. And that is because this is simply a foreign object. It's not a part of us. So we have that limitation there. Next, I think, is probably the one of the biggest, if not the biggest, differences. And that is, in weapon combat, the resulting injuries and the resulting things that happen are much more severe than in barehanded fighting. In barehanded fighting, you can make a whole lot of mistakes. You can try things, and they may not work. You can take a couple of shots, here, there. You can escape holds. You can escape locks. There's all of these strategies that you have available to you in barehanded fighting that you do not have available to you in weapons-based fighting, because especially when we're talking with lightsabers, when we're talking about a hit there's really nothing stopping that from becoming a fight-ending injury, in our minds. And that's true with other weapons too. Even a blunt stick or a club is a deadly weapon, right? And much more deadly than just using your simple hands, no matter how good you are. And part of that is the same reason, the same limitation that we talked about before, which is these are part of our body. So when I go to hit something, there's another concern in my brain, which is I have to hit it in a way that I'm not going to damage myself. And so I'm not necessarily going to be able to do the types of strikes and stuff like that I can with a weapon, even a club, which will break bone, cleave off pieces of the opponent, all of these different types of fight-ending injury that would be common. So that's another very, very large part of it. And that really, really changes the dynamic of the fight or the sparring match that you're in. Not to mention, and that's the next thing, is armor. With barehanded fighting, you can go in almost naked. The Greeks wrestled naked, boxed naked. With weapons fighting, you generally want to have at least some armor on, some clothing. And this also is going to change the dynamic of the fight. It's going to allow you to do certain things and prevent you from doing other things. Both of those dynamics are going to then change within the fight. So the armor will enable you to take hits that you wouldn't be able to take without the armor, and would also enable you to go for hits that you wouldn't necessarily go for if you didn't have a weapon and you didn't have armor. All of these things make the two scenarios so utterly different. As a person who has fought both extensively, they are very, very different beasts. Like I said, there's the experiences that you get from any type of martial art, any type of conflict. There are universal benefits that you get that you can then transfer over. And then you get into more specific types of things with specific weapons. So there we go. Now, how is barehanded, if at all, applicable to weapon combat? Now, there are a couple of dynamics that we have to go through here. So if we're talking about how barehanded influences weapon, right, you can work on a lot of footwork barehanded, right, to really, really push that up. So if your footwork is very weak or just needs work, is the weakest part of your game in fencing or whatever, working without a weapon, you can work a lot on footwork. The footwork from different martial arts, barehanded martial arts, are going to be very, very applicable to the weapon arena. Not necessarily all the time, because they're very specific. And as in the next bit, when we're going to do vice versa, it's the same way, right? So we're talking about little places of overlap here. Now, when we're talking about how weapons influence barehanded styles, this is going to be more like sticks. Sticks are often used as training tools for barehanded fighting. When you're using a stick, it helps train your body mechanics because it's keeping your hands together. It's going to help train specific movements and all of that. Now, becoming a very, very great stick fighter is not going to necessarily be necessary for you to become a very good boxer or MMA fighter. So take that for what it's worth. But again, the stick is something that has been used to train lots of different martial arts that aren't the stick, from swords to barehanded, as we're talking about here. So there is a training benefit to having weapons and barehanded being done at the same time. And that brings us to the last kind of dynamic, which is systems that incorporate both. I'm from a Chinese system, from a couple of Chinese systems, and most Chinese systems integrate weapon combat, or I should say weapon work, into their system. Most do not have any manner of actual free sparring with weapons included in them. It's usually just forms, exercises, and two-person drills. Sometimes you'll get choreographed sets, and that, but it's done to augment the barehanded aspect of the system. In a lot of those systems, weapon work is strength training. So it's moving the object around through space, right, and making sure that your body is doing everything correctly while you're under resistance, as it were. And a lot of systems that do it that way will take those weapons and make them very, very heavy or very, very oversized. Bagua is a very good example, where you have very large weapons which are used to build strength, coordination, and stuff like that under resistance. So that's a way that they can both be integrated. So finally, is barehanded martial arts good for what we do? Sure. We're going to try to probably include some barehanded martial art. If you're looking for a martial art or a type of martial art that is most applicable to weapon fighting, and you're taking sabering or you're taking another weapon art and stuff like that, and you want to put some barehanded, some more self-defense type aspects in there, my advice would be to go for a wrestling type style. These are going to probably give you the most amount of techniques that you're going to be able to apply to weapon combat, most systems, because of grappling and all of that. And they're also going to give you very, very sound principles for self-defense. So things like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, just wrestling, Sambo, any of these types of arts. To a lesser extent, MMA, because they try to mix both of the striking and that, but that's also another possibility. If you're looking for traditional martial arts, things like judo, taiji, shui jiao, hapkido, all of these arts are very good ways to get some wrestling principles in there, because wrestling does have applicability using weapons a lot of the time, wrestling around with the other guy. So there you go. If you train in a barehanded martial art and you're trying to get into sabering, and you've never had any experiences with a weapon or with a weapon, be prepared for some culture shock. It's going to be a little bit different. Things are not going to go quite as you might expect. If you're a person who's worked with weapons and you want to integrate some martial arts or barehanded martial arts into what you're doing, and you're trying to find something like that, again, the wrestling is a good spot to go for. The other types of martial arts are anything that's very, very heavy on footwork. Wushu gets a bad rap with all of its acrobatics and stuff like that. But if you're talking about weapons and you want some skills and some fitness and some coordination, Wushu's got it up and down there, and all of those skills can very, very easily translate. But again, like I said, wrestling type styles are probably where you're going to want to gravitate toward. So, all right. Okay, so hopefully that is informative and helpful. If you have any comments, please give them below. Please like, share, and subscribe, and all that YouTube jazz. We will see you next time. Remember, we've got the symposium coming up on November 19th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. So tune in for that. So, until next time, have a great day. Happy Sabering.